Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Grand Paradiso. My name is Abraham, and tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I have the absolute privilege, I have the honour of being your master of ceremonies, as tonight we join together, ladies and gentlemen, for one very special celebration. We are celebrating tonight day one of forever, the beginning of our bride and groom's happily ever after, the coming of two families, the coming of two cultures. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we celebrate our bride and groom. A big round of applause. A big bit of that, ladies and gentlemen. For all our Arabic speakers here tonight, يسعد مساكم وأهلا وسهلا فيكم. فردا باسم العرسان وأهل العرسان بيتقدموا لكم الشكر في المشاركة بفرحة زفاف العرسان الحلوين، وبيدعوا للجميع الأفراح الدائمة بدياركم. And for all our Italian speakers here tonight, buonasera signore e signori, e benvenuti a questa serata davvero speciale. Spero che vi godrete la serata mentre celebriamo i nostri sposi. Well, ladies and gentlemen, standing behind those doors right now is our bride and groom and our bridal party. They are ready. I can guarantee you that they are ready. But ladies and gentlemen, one question is asked to each and every one of you. Are we ready to celebrate with our bride and groom here tonight? Well, ladies and gentlemen, join me as we welcome first our guests of honor. They are the very proud parents of the groom. Please welcome Francesco and Lucia Mastronardo.
Anche ad una mano che lavora piano, anche a questa bocca.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to welcome the equally proud parents of the bride. Join me as we welcome Rami and Nicole Haifa.
دخيل وشكلك جنني، دخيل البيئة تهمني، دخيل ما بيبعد عني، دخيل الكل وحنية، دخيل وشو عامل فيا، دخيل وقلبك شو حنوني والليل علي حنة 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 حنة.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me by putting your hands together for the parents of the bride and the groom. A big round of applause. Now, family and friends, they were supposed to enter tonight. Our very handsome page boy and beautiful flower girl, Mateo and Billy Rose. They are a little bit nervous, so I wanted you to give them a round of applause. They won't be entering tonight, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, but we will see them after the entry, we promise you that. Well, family and friends, it is now time for us to welcome our best man, maid of honor, accompanied by our groomsmen and our bridesmaids. Join me as we welcome Antonio and Shanice, Vincent and Melissa, and Dorian and Isabel. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for our bridal party. Please put your hands together. Well, family and friends, we now have one final couple left to introduce the very reason that each and every one of us is here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Now, family and friends, we'd like to remind you that for our bride and groom, their journey of forever, it started earlier today at St. Charbel's Parish in Punchbowl, in front of all their family and friends, and most importantly, with God. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, that journey culminates here at the Grand Paradiso. The team capturing all the magical moments behind the camera all day today and all night tonight is A to Z Weddings, and ensuring, ladies and gentlemen, that you are entertained all night long is the team at Alex DJ Entertainment and Productions. Ladies and gentlemen, we have one final couple left to introduce. Standing behind those doors right now is the very reason that each and every one of us is here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, are we ready for our bride and groom? Ladies and gentlemen, I asked, are we ready for the main event of the evening? Well, what an absolute pleasure it is on this 29th day of March, 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you our bride and groom, Mr. and Mrs. Marco and Monique Mastronardo. Let's get those hands clapping, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. and Mrs. Mastronaut!